In 1 month, we found 1,000 acres to go and homestead on for $0.
Sounds crazy.
3 different properties, not just one big one. 3 different properties, 3 different offers, 1,000 acres, no money, to go and homestead however we'd like.
Through no help of our channel
Not
or
because we're
podcast or
YouTubers,
anything.
not because people knew who we were. We just found this online, talked to the people. If you want to homestead, but you don't have land and you can't afford to go and buy your own right now, in this episode we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can gain access to land for no money. And at the end we have a couple warnings for you if you go this route, just to make sure you don't get yourself in a bad situation.
This isn't just a secret recipe we have to be able to find free land. We did a poll on YouTube of 500 people, and we found 10% of them had also been able to find free land to use for their homesteading through some really clever ways.
And I was thinking that's interesting because in the people that we polled, it wasn't out of 400 people who've asked or looked for it.
Right.
So who knows, most of those people probably
Yes.
didn't ask, didn't look for it. I wonder if we had asked, 100 people
100
who tried.
people who tried to find free land,
Yeah.
what percentage of them would have found
Because
it?
over the years, we've interviewed many different people in the homesteading space that have done this, found access to land. We're going to talk about them today. Different methods, right? Where they didn't have to put out a lot of money because land prices are only going up.
And that is one of the biggest obstacles for so many people who want to start homesteading is finding land, purchasing land or finding usable land to homestead on.
Yeah, the number one obstacle in our audience is money. Not having enough money to homestead is why people haven't started. Second to that is not having land.
And probably number 1 figures a lot into the
Yeah,
having no land
exactly.
is to having no money because property prices have just gone through the roof.
So let's get right into the first way that people can get access to free land, and that's with community spaces, community land. Community garden or community, homestead space.
I think these are good options for somebody who is in a location, a very urban location, right? You're in a city, you don't have any patio space to grow container gardens or anything. You just need to dip your toes into the homesteading world in some way.
Yeah.
So this isn't intimidating because you don't have to go ask anybody. It's the public space. It's already an established community garden. You probably just sign up, get an application or whatever.
Now, typically with a community garden or a community, homestead space, you'll find there's a fee. But the fee is you're paying for water,
Utilities you use.
electric, access to tools and equipment. So if you look at that fee and you say, the minute you start homesteading, you need water. The minute you start homesteading, you need some basic tools, some shovels, some rakes, some picks. Your money, typically I found the going rate for like a community garden plot is anywhere from 20 to 40, 50 bucks. That's
Per
getting
month?
you per season.
It's pretty affordable.
Yeah, that's getting you equipment, infrastructure already set up.
Yes, usually something established there.
Yeah, so the land space that you're taking up is basically free. You're just paying for all the utilities and equipment, wear and tear. But then shifting your attention from the community garden spaces. Also, you'll find community land.
That can be, so a lot of places you can go hunting on public land, which is a great way to start homesteading because it's very little input of your own. You don't have to buy a farm to go hunting on it.
Every state, and one reason today we're not going to get into like what particular websites or apps to use. It's very state or even country specific. So basically what you're looking for is whatever state or region that you live in, just start going on Google, public land, this state, and you'll find public land to use for hunting, foraging, gathering.
It's the public space. Get your license, you can go.
Yeah. You're going to benefit not only from just actually being able to get started, you're going to benefit from getting experience now. So you could spend the next 5 years in the middle of New York City dreaming of homesteading, and for 5 years you could get no experience. Or for the next 5 years, you can learn how to kill a plant and then not kill a plant. You can learn how to do starts, learn how to harvest, learn how to can, learn how to, cook with your fresh ingredients, figure out how to do, pest control. So you're getting a lot of experience.
Yeah, you can.
Hands-on.
I mean, we were an hour away from New York City. Was there public land where people could come and hunt?
Oh, yeah. Public land for hunting, right? Not only are you going to learn the skill of hunting, you're also going to now learn how to butcher. I learned to butcher, not on farm animals, I learned to butcher on deer.
That you harvested from property we didn't own.
We didn't have
we
any
didn't
property.
own any property.
We were in a 3rd-story apartment, and we didn't have any property.
But there's community land. There was state public land available where you could just go and use it.
Mm-hmm. And I was able to harvest deer, learn to butcher a deer, and then that basic butchering of the deer applies to pigs, it applies to sheep, lambs.
Cows.
Cows are like a
bigger.
giant deer. So you learn the skills now. Instead of dreaming for 5 years, you're gaining skills, you're gaining expertise. So when you do wind up on your own farm, you get a family farm, you save up and you buy a family farm, you already have the skills you need. Now you just grow your operation. The other really big thing I was thinking that people are going to benefit from, like a community garden or public spaces, is the connections you're going to make with people who are good at this stuff. If you go to a community garden space, there's going to be somebody running that who is there.
Experienced.
They can help mentor you. You're going to go to them with questions. Where you started in our apartment, we had a small yard. You started a garden there. You didn't have any mentors there. There was nobody with experience there. Just the neighbor who was weed whacking.
Yeah, our neighbor kept chopping my rhubarb
your
down
rhubarb.
too.
As opposed to that, being in a community garden space, you're going to make connections with people who will help you. You'll get better. Also, might be, as we're about to get into, some connections that can get you access to more land.
So, the second way is caretaking. Which means, okay, so that means it's not going to be your land. You're not purchasing anything. You're going to be doing a service for somebody who does own land.
This is essentially someone out there, believe it or not,
Lots
is
of people
looking
out
for
there.
you.
Yes.
They own land, and they're looking for you. And the way we know this, we talked about in the introduction, thousands of acres that were at our disposal that we found in just about a month. We found an individual who owned, do you remember? It was like 100+ acres.
Yeah.
100+ acres. They had a house on it. They didn't live there. They just had bought this farm property. It had hay fields. It had, pasture, infrastructure, barns. There was actually a tractor parked in the barn. They bought this property for family use.
Sight unseen even. They had never been there.
Right. They didn't have access to it. They didn't live there. It was just a place for their family to use.
The issue was they wanted to have it insured in some kind of way, but the insurance wouldn't cover it without anybody living there.
So they needed someone to just live on the property. That way they could get it insured. And the other thing they were looking for, there was a new floor that was needed in the house. And
they wanted someone there just to oversee the flooring
and I
as
think
it was put in.
Siding too.
Yeah, just all these little projects that they couldn't be there to oversee, and they wanted somebody to be there to make sure they weren't being taken advantage of.
It was off-grid. It was remote. So if you were someone who was looking to do...
a beautiful piece of property.
Gorgeous property. The infrastructure was rough. The barn was in pretty good shape. The house itself was a little bit, rustic. But all that being said, if you're a couple, you by yourself.
Yeah, you have an RV.
Yeah, and you want to just get started.
You can put up, and you just need access to land. You're not going to be, it's not yours to own. Which you think, well, that's not good. I don't want that. But not owning land can be really nice at first, especially if you have land that you can use without having to invest in it. If you don't know and don't have experience homesteading and you don't know what you're looking for, you could really buy a terrible property for homesteading if you don't have any experience. it gives you experience.
Yeah.
So you go out to this property and you live there for 2 years caretaking it, and you say, oh, this is a great spot. I love this area, but you know what? This ground is a little low and it gets really wet. So at whatever property I buy, I have to make sure it's on higher ground.
Yeah, or you know what? Make sure that I don't like this kind of soil, or I don't
The wind is too harsh coming across this field. I have to make sure my next property has more trees.
Yep.
Without having to make a $200,000 mistake.
Yeah, so just getting somewhere and working some ground.
Will even pay you to do this. They will pay you to be there. We have another person who we've spoken to who's looking for... There's so many older farmers now who don't have family to pass the farms on to. So, people who are moving back onto a family farm, but they're older, they can't take care of the whole thing, say, hey, I'll give you this piece of property. You can do what you want with it. Just help me for the rest. I'll give you this 10 acres. Do whatever you want with it, but help me with the other 60.
We just got that email the other day.
Yeah,
literally
true story.
This week. We already had planned this episode. We got an email from somebody in our audience who said they have the property. They can't manage the whole thing. They're looking for some families
who would like to caretake it with them.
Who would like to help them, so they need help managing their piece, but in return they get access to the land.
Right, that's...
We got that email. We didn't ask for it. It happened this week. Now, that we got because we have a YouTube channel and they follow our channel and they just were introducing themselves to us.
But that's out there.
Yeah.
That's the point.
The caretaking property that we found, about 100 acres, the way we found that one, word of mouth. Talking to different individuals. This is what we're looking for. This is what we need. Oh, you know what? I know someone. It literally was, hey, I know someone who's looking for a caretaker. So the lesson here is talk about this.
Yes, talk to people.
Let people know.
It might not be where you live right now, but if you find an area in your travels, wherever you go vacation, and you say, wow, I could really see me homesteading here, talk about it there.
Yep.
Go to farms. Talk to people.
We polled our audience on YouTube and we got some really great comments. This one is from somebody in Italy who said, you may find people that give you a piece of land with olive trees or a fruit orchard for free if you take care of it because it's abandoned. They don't have time and money to take care of it, or it's too hard to take care of it because of the landscape. That's my experience in Italy, which I thought was so cool. I love having a worldwide audience.
Think of that, having olive trees.
Could you imagine, like, you get free access to this gorgeous Italian orchard? It makes me want to say, let's give Italy a shot. Maybe the next off-grid challenge off in Italy somewhere in an orchard. Yeah, all those trees need pruned. They need maintained. Pull out the diseased ones.
Weed whack.
There are people, how many times did we see in Connecticut old abandoned orchards? We had a friend who had in his neighborhood an old abandoned orchard just sitting there, and the neighbors used to let them go and pick apple trees out of the orchard.
Apples. Anarchy Acres Farmstead talks about a 94-year-old couple that own 100 grazable acres. They let us use it so they don't have to maintain it. We can bale it, graze it, or even do crops if we wanted to.
Yeah, that is, man.
Great.
Jackpot.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a friend who actually this season just went and helped him find a deer on his property that he has access to hunt, hundreds of acres, and all he does in exchange for it is he weed whacks the property. So yeah, some form of caretaking. Maybe it's caretaking the land, managing the land for them. Maybe it's staying in the house that they need watched. Maybe it's a little bit of farm management. Maybe they have some animals themselves. They're getting older and they need help.
Maybe they milk a cow and they want to be able to go on vacation once in a while.
You're providing a value to them. They're looking for you, and in exchange, you'll have access to land.
And get a lot of experience.
Yeah. There are websites where people will post for this.
Yeah, search a specific state.
Yep, look for caretaking,
farm,
property management.
Yeah,
it may be a job.
Yeah, specifically, I would look for farm. That's when we found all of our stuff, was looking for farm.
Right, and you may find...
leases, farm caretaking, kind of stuff like that.
Farm leases is a good place. Sometimes you'll find... Actually, we were looking for farm leases for some of this and found people who were willing to barter, which was big time.
Point number 3.
And that gets us into point number 3, which is value for vacant land. So providing someone value in exchange for their use of their vacant land. So these people may not be looking for you. They may not be listing. They might be. You might find some. We did through ag lease searches.
And I think the first time we knew somebody personally who did this was John Covich.
Yes, he is the master of this, the value for vacant land. John started back when we started. We were actually neighbors, John Covich from Farm Marketing Solutions. He was starting a pasture poultry business. He wanted to do pasture poultry and chicken tractors, but he was broke and owned no land, and he had a big farm dream with no money to buy land and no friends or family who had any to work on. So what he did was he printed out a one-sheet pitch, and in that one sheet he showed his chicken tractors. He talked about the value that his chickens would bring somebody on their property. He had a really cool strategy here. He knew that the poop from his chickens would be beneficial to hay farmers. So he literally targeted in our town, our area, he found all the hay fields. You could find that on Google Maps, the big hay, oh, that's a hay farmer there, that's a hay farmer there, there's the tractor, there's the bales. So he found a few different farmers who had hay fields. Because if you go to, just Joe Schmo and you say, hey, my chickens are going to poop in your yard, they're probably going to think, gross, I don't want your chickens pooping in my yard.
Well, hopefully you're not going to like somebody's neighborhood in your backyard where their kids play. You're targeting like vacant
What do you need?
or farmland,
You need some
right?
chicken poop, you need some turkey poop, I got it all. Farmers actually are paying to put nitrogen into their field.
And farmers, I think, already get the concept like livestock grazing somewhere adds nutrients.
Yeah. So he found all the different hay fields and he said, listen, I can provide the nitrogen you need for free. I'm going to bring my chicken tractors in. He showed pictures of how nice and neat they looked, all in a row. He called it a Roman legion. All his chicken tractors in a row. It wasn't busted. It wasn't broke down. So he put this on a 1x1 sheet of paper. The benefits to the landowner, what it looked like, and what they would get. They would get the nutrients from the chickens. John would work around their schedule. He wouldn't, get in the way of them mowing their fields. And
what happened?
He was fielding offers.
Which means?
He had multiple people say, yes, I want your chickens to poop in my yard.
People wanted his chickens to poop in their hayfield.
So he got to pick. With no money, he got to pick. No, not that one, not that one. This one's my favorite. So he actually was turning down offers in the end. Now, this required him to do this worksheet, print up the printout to show people.
You have to sell yourself.
He had to find the properties to go to.
Make sure you look like a good person who's not going to trash anybody's property.
Yeah.
That you have a product that can appeal to people as well.
And he would go, he said he would, a big smile on his face, a firm handshake. That printout explained the benefit they were going to get.
So here we go. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Find properties that fit that. Do you want goats? Find vacant, overgrown properties. Pitch those people.
Yeah.
Town buildings. Town has land that they aren't doing anything with. Hey, I've got temporary fencing and I've got 4 goats. This would be a great spot for them. What can I give you in return? Well, they'll take care of your weeds. No more poison ivy. Find people who want soap or honey from bees, chicken. One of the properties we had offered to us, they were willing to exchange whatever we grew while we were there.
Yeah, so one of this thousands of acres we talked about in the beginning, they didn't need any money. A lot of times you'll find if someone is a landowner, we're talking like hundreds or thousands of acres, they're probably well off, right? They probably aren't looking for your $100 or $200 a month to rent out a little garden plot. But generally speaking, no one is going to say something for nothing, right? You're not going to get anything totally for free. They want some value back. So telling them, I'm going to raise pigs, and this piece of land you have, I'm going to give you 1/4 of a pig share. Or
I'll give you what I grow off of it.
Yeah, so 1/4 or, a 1/10 of the garden's produce. Some percentage of what you produce you're going to give to them. So they'll have food in their freezer, farm fresh, amazing, delicious.
From their property.
From their property. And they don't have to do any of the actual work. They get to have that nice fuzzy feeling of helping a farmer out, getting some farm fresh produce. It's a win-win-win.
So,
win-win-win for everybody.
Anarchy Acres Farm also said they have another neighbor just uses the land for recreation. They let us graze their fields for a butcher hog.
Awesome.
And if you're already growing your own 3 hogs, what's another 4th added to it?
And that's very true. It's going to be a minimal cost for you to add on to it. Save you a ton compared to what you have to pay in a land lease.
This is from Jason. He talks about farming a small portion of a neighbor's property. In exchange, we gave them some of the produce.
Yep.
Like, how easy is that?
So find vacant land and offer a value to them. How do you find vacant land? We've done a lot of this over the years. We've found some that we've purchased. We found some that we just got the opportunity to go and homestead on and work with. If you're watching the Alaska Off-Grid Challenge, that property that we were able to homestead on for a long period of time was just it was offered to us for a barter system. So a couple of little tricks and tools that we found very helpful. Onyx is a app that you can get on your phone. It's a hunting property locator kind of app.
So you say you go and scout some areas and you say, I'm interested in this parcel. Who owns it? That's what Onyx helps you locate the owner. So then you can go and find their phone number, contact them. It also is nice because it'll show you how much property they actually own. So you might see a hayfield and then you pull it up on Onyx with Google Maps next to it, and you see, okay, they own the field, but they also own all the woods behind
and
it. Yeah.
You know what?
I
could
run through there.
Pigs in the woods. They're not using the woods; they're just running in the hayfield. So Onyx is it's a hunting-based app, but it'll show you large parcels of land. You can also find large parcels of land online. Generally, towns will have their tax maps and that sort of thing. So just search your area that you're looking for tax maps, landowner maps. Identify the properties that you'd like to go and pitch them. Another one I thought of people might look for people who are advertising hunting leases. Hunting leases are generally a fall and springtime operation, and oftentimes we know of a friend near us who's a farmer. He runs the farm himself, but he leases out parts of the farm for hunting. He also leases out parts of the farm for solar operations and all sorts of things. So here's a farmer who's already looking to lease out part of this family farm. He can't manage the whole thing. He wants to make more money while only using the amount that he uses. So someone who's willing to do a hunting lease, say, listen, I want to come in the summertime. There's no hunters there in the summer. I just want to run my chickens through the field, and they'll be gone by hunting season.
And I'll give you 5 chickens.
They're already looking. Yeah, they're looking for something. Offer them product. You're already going to be raising chickens. You're already going to be raising, pigs or beef or whatever it is. Offer them the product.
Yeah. So those are the places where you could look. Facebook Marketplace, really any Craigslist, anywhere you go to find things. Look, Tractor Supply has information boards. Farmers markets are a great place to look because the people are very focused on community ag. And you can find people who may be into beef production and wouldn't mind sectioning off a small part for some chicken production as well. And
that brings us back to the first point, which was, the community land, the community gardens. Everybody in that community garden, talk to them, right? Mm-hmm. They have friends, they have family. Talk to your friends and family. A lot of the people in the comments talked about having family members who allow them to go and, run a couple animals through their fields.
Yeah, it's funny in families you don't realize, this cousin inherited this farm, but they don't want it, so could I caretake it for a couple years?
Yeah. My aunt owned a really great piece of property in Connecticut right on a main road, and it had a garage and a Chinese food restaurant. But behind it, there was just this big open...
a vacant lot. There was nothing
backyard.
There. Yeah.
It was a 1/4-acre backyard. And my grandma and her boyfriend put a...
huge garden.
Nice garden in the back, and they had so much produce. They could have set up a shop.
They could have sold it.
Right from, a little produce stand right on the side of the road. They could have made a killing. They were giving produce away because, they didn't want to do the business thing. But
yeah, and this may be outside of what you envisioned your homestead looking like, but don't look at it like this is my permanent homestead. It's just a step. It's just a step to get you more skills. It's a step to make more connections. It's a step to give you more knowledge so you are a more experienced buyer when the right piece of property really does come along. You'll understand like, wow, I got to lease that 10 acres and it was great, but turns out I only need 5 for what I want to do. So I can look for a smaller property, which may be more within your budget eventually. And you are going to be, hopefully, at some point, making money off of what you're doing.
yeah.
Saving money, at least. You won't have to buy so much of your own food. Making money if you're able to grow enough to sell at a local farmer's market. So put that towards your future homestead fund.
Yeah. You may find, one of the things you may find for this, value for vacant land, over time, the person you might wind up, if you love the property and they are happy with you being there, you may find you could actually work towards purchasing it in a more creative way than just going and getting a mortgage. We found people when we were looking for acreage who were interested in the idea of us coming, trying it out, them trying us on, and then saying, okay, maybe in a year or two.
I can portion this much for you to
you
lease
can start
to own.
leasing to own. So it may open up a lot more opportunity there. Also, now, if you do find a vacant piece of property that is far away, right? Maybe you're thinking, I got this great opportunity, but it's just too far to commute. If you're willing to, there are some easy ways. We in our Alaska adventure, we interviewed a couple different people who went and lived out of campers.
Yep,
I was thinking about yurts.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about doing this in the past, finding a vacant piece of property that we wanted to set up on and setting up a yurt. And we actually have, if you're a Homesteady Pioneer, we have a whole in-depth episode all about yurts. If you're a Homesteady Pioneer, I'll link to the yurt extended interview. You can learn about yurts and whether or not that would be a good setup for you on a vacant piece of property.
Yeah, and takes a little introspection, right? If this is your dream, you want a homestead, this is my dream, in the next 5 years, this is my goal. A lot of people in the comments who have not found land for no money are saying, well, around here it's really hard. Around here people want a lot of money for land. Around here we can't find anything. Maybe around here isn't where you want to be in 5 years then. So start looking kind of outside of where you are to find a place where you can eventually find land to use and future homestead property.
Now, nothing is free completely, right? It might cost you no money. But it's going to cost you something. Also, there are some risks when you go this route. So we have 3 warnings for you if you are thinking about setting up a homestead on someone else's property that you're not paying dollars and cents for.
First of all, most importantly, get it in writing. Get your arrangement specifically put down in writing. So are they going to let you graze for the season? What is the season? What are you going to be grazing? What kind of fencing can you use? What sort of damage is normal and what is outside of the scope of what they want to see happen? That can help you determine like, okay, cows are not going to work here, but goats or sheep will be a better idea.
Yeah, they need to be fully aware of the risks, right, associated with what you're doing. So if you're going to run pigs in somebody's hayfield and then you leave at the end of the season and there's a bunch of rocks out in their hayfield and ruts and it's busting up their tractor, they're going to be angry with you.
So at the end of the season you say, I will make sure that this is mowable, tillable land when we leave and I'm adding nutrients back to it. So you pull the rocks and you rake in the big holes, the wallows that they left, fix that, and you're ready to go.
Also, on the flip side, make sure that they're clear on how long you have access and put that on paper. Because if they say to you, yeah, go ahead, and you're thinking, okay, I'm here for the next couple of years, and then the following season they say, hey, I leased out the property to a different farmer this year, you're going to have to leave. Again, just make sure all the terms are clear. So how long, what they're going to get, what you're going to get, what you do and don't have access to, just get it all in writing. kind of to piggyback on that, the next warning is you may not produce, especially if you're new and this is your first go at this, you may not produce as much as you're expecting. So don't promise. If you find somebody with a backyard and you say, listen, I'm going to bring chicken tractors in and I'm going to raise 100 chickens and I'm going to give you, 10 chickens. Then you get into it and you build your chicken tractors and you find, oh, this is more expensive than I thought.
They don't fit as many chickens as I thought. You lost
get
some
all your
chicks.
chickens.
It's a really hot season. Your almost full-grown chickens die.
At the end of the season, you go and you butcher 20 birds. You might not want to give away half those birds. So a better way to approach it, instead of promising, 10 chickens or a whole pig, it might be better, especially if you're new, to promise a percentage of what you've produced. So you might offer to them, listen, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do pigs this year, and I'd like to offer you a 10% on whatever our pork yield is for the year. So if I raise 4 pigs, each pig you get half a pig from or a quarter pig from. I'll give you a quarter of the pig there. Or, just make sure it's scalable. So if you do really well...
Imagine okay, if every half of what I have dies, what can I still offer them?
And most people understand this. We've talked about this with a few different people. We've gone into agreements like this with, listen, we're not sure what we're going to be able to produce on your property. We're not sure what to expect. So we'd like to offer you a percentage. Just to make sure that you don't break yourself doing this and also anger someone who is expecting, hey, you promised me half a beef, but you never raised beef cows.
One beef cow died, so.
So try to be flexible in what you promise.
They still get all that manure.
Yep.
I won't take that back. It's yours to keep. The next point is, this is not your permanent home or homestead. Don't put too much permanent infrastructure up.
Yeah.
They probably won't even want you to put any permanent infrastructure up. Don't build a beautiful chicken coop and bury fencing all around it. Make everything very portable that you can load up into the back of a truck and take with you wherever you go next.
One of the reasons the John Siskovich chicken tractor is the dimensions that it is because he could rent a trailer at Tractor Supply and put it right into it. He could load it up and move it. All his infrastructure was designed to be able to go to one hay field and then load up and in a day be in a new hay field.
Yeah, temporary netting for the chickens.
Temporary netting, temporary, banging. Instead of doing high tensile fencing, do, what are those posts? Fiberglass posts and twine and reels. There's so much really good mobile
solar chargers for electric.
Solar chargers with water. We've done this on our own property. We've worked the different fields on our property here.
You're not going to want to dig a well on their property and then be told, 5 years later, sorry, it's our property, get out.
Right.
But I put tens of thousands of dollars in here. Well, too bad.
So what we've done is we have mobile water trailers. We have a trailer with a big water tank on it that we can drag all around the field. So get a water tank that fits in the back of your car or the back of your truck, and a water tank on the site there on a little, trailer that you can trailer around. On your way into your homestead in the morning, fill up your water wherever you're at, get there, unload your water, move it where you need it. Now you got mobile water, you got mobile fencing, all your infrastructure. Invest in whatever's mobile, movable. Don't put too much money or effort into the dirt beneath your feet, because we actually know of stories of people who had an agreement, went and made a property really, really good, and then got booted. Because what can happen, sadly, is you go to a landowner who's never done this before, right? And you say, listen, I'd like to give you some pork in exchange for the land. Now they start experiencing this value for their vacant land, and they realize this is a thing. They talk about it. Another farmer says, oh, well, I'll pay you cash for that property. Deal.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, so now they're this idea to them is something I could actually make money from this. I've seen this happen where people lost their homestead to hunting leases. People lost their homestead to farmers who offered more money. So just remember, get it in writing. but always treat it as something that's temporary, that you could be booted from quickly. So invest in good, what do you invest in? Good livestock genetics,
Yeah, you can take
Right.
that with you.
good mobile infrastructure,
Yep.
nice chicken tractors, mobile. Right now I'm building a mobile livestock barn,
Yeah.
loafing shed that is on skids, so it can be moved around to different properties.
Take a stanchion that you can move with you.
Yep,
Don't
just
sink
keep it
anything in
mobile.
concrete. Yeah, this free land thing, it's like your college education, right? Your crash course, but you don't have to pay money for it. You're paying your time, you're paying your energy, working your livestock or whatever have you there. So yeah, at the end of 4 years, whereas you're 100,000 debt in college, here you've got skills.
Oh, yeah.
You've grown things. You know what kind of land you're looking for, and you've made a lot of connections that could benefit you down the road.
Go back. John's going to be the star of this episode here. We keep talking about John. He wound up running the farm
Where he's at now.
where he's at now through connections he met just trying to find a place to run some chicken tractors.
Yeah.
So he went from a guy with no money and no land to running a 50-acre farm, brewery, the whole thing, just because he started looking, because he started knocking on doors. So don't be afraid to knock on doors. We got to talk about this. Somebody said in the comments, did you see the question about how do you ask for it? Because they didn't want to ask for something that's free. So how do you start that conversation? You've researched.
Okay.
You've researched online. You found 3 fields that look like they're just right for you, and you want to start a goat grazing operation.
I do, real
So
bad.
you printed out your one worksheet.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you phone call? Do you letter? Or do you ring the doorbell?
It depends who you are. Like, what kind of person are you?
A
A lot of times, like, if it's a farm...
I'm talking to you. What do you do?
Me? Is it a farm? I would probably go to the farm. One, because farmers are terrible at returning phone calls.
Oh, yeah,
farmers. They're busy. But they're at their farm. So I go there, don't go dressed up in, like, heels and pearls and stuff. Like, go in jeans, look nice and clean, but look like...
You're going to make them
somebody-
nervous if you're dressed too nice.
Well, yeah, they're not going to believe, like, what do you have experience with? I'm going to go and say, this is my plan. Do you have 5 acres where I could use temporary fencing and put my goats up in exchange? We'll clear out all these awful toxic weeds you have around here. And they're like, well, I don't know. I said, oh, well, I'm also going to be milking some goats. Are you interested in any goat milk? Colostrum? Soap?
You bring up a good point, how you appear and what your actual experience is, right? I know, because by nature of having the YouTube channel, we have people once in a while talk to us, hey, do you have any extra land I could come? And do you have any connections with people you know? And I always think the people who are going to get a yes, right, are the people who have some experience, proof of concept, right? So they email you and they say, hey, I've been doing this for this long. These are the results I've had. I'm looking for a new place. Do you know anybody, or do you yourself have some property or something?
Yeah, and I'd say instead of like, don't target YouTube homesteaders who are doing this. Like, hey, do you have any land on your homestead? I say stay in your local area or find the actual area where you'd like to live. Hey, my name's Kendra. I live near this town, not so far away from you, right? Find things you have in common. When you just send an email to somebody you've never met,
Yeah, that's
thousands of miles
no.
away, like, hey, do you have any land I could... It's weird.
Yeah, no one's going to say yes to that. We've had success with, a little bit of success with letter writing.
Yeah.
Right? You've wrote some letters for land. Some people, actually, the letters worked better than the in-person greetings, going and meeting in
Right.
person. But I agree with you. If it's a farmer, if you're trying to pitch a farmer, a little bit of their land, or a landowner of any size.
Yeah, I just
if
think
you
like
can-
mail and phone can get lost if you're dealing with like a farmer.
Yeah.
With a vacant land, I think a phone call or a letter is probably better because you don't want to turn up, I feel like, at somebody's front door. They're not expecting you.
I would, honestly, for me, and I know this from the world of hunting too, I've done this with hunting properties, I'm not afraid to go ring a doorbell, dressed nicely, dressed like, my flannels and my nice blue jeans.
But have you done that at somebody's residential home
Yeah.
or at a farm?
Yeah, at someone's residential home for
Liar.
No, I'm not.
Who was it?
Me and James took a whole day. We went around knocking on doors, people who had properties and land. That's what John did with his thing. He went and knocked on doors.
Residential.
Yep, residential.
Yeah, so I guess, there's ways to go about it. And don't forget, you're not saying, hey, give me land for free.
So this was my next question. They opened the door, right? Like, hello. What do you say?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, smile. Be friendly. Just tell
How
them
can I
why you're
help you?
there. My name's Kendra. I'm starting a small farm operation. This is what I'm doing. I'd like to bring goats to the area because of all these benefits. I noticed that you have this patchy area
I
of
don't
woods.
like goats.
I'm also doing sheep.
Ah, nice.
Or why
Good
don't you
pivot.
like goats?
Ooh, no, don't go down
What
that
kind
road.
of goat prejudiced person are you? You're a terrible person. I never
Goat
would have
shame
knocked
them.
on your door.
Yeah, I'd probably do the same thing. Knock on the door and just get right to the point.
Just
Hi.
tell them what you're there for. Smile, look
Yep.
nice, normal.
Have a nice printout.
Yes.
Look good and just say, good morning. My name is Austin.
You're gonna feel awful.
Yeah,
super,
it's
super
very
uncomfortable,
awkward.
but you're not trying to take advantage of them.
That's
and I
the
think
big one.
that's what you
Remember
have
that.
to get in your head. You're not trying to take advantage of them. You're bringing value. You're bringing value in your service you're providing, fertilizing. You're bringing value to their land. You're bringing value in a product. More and more, I think people are becoming aware of the fact that small farms and small town agricultural, whatever we want to call that, is really important. And we want to keep the people able to do this, right?
Yeah.
We want our local things to survive. We want our local economy to feature more local products. So remember, you're doing an awesome thing.
Yeah.
And there are going to be people who really, really appreciate it.
Think really hard before you go to pitch people about the benefits you're bringing them. Bulletize them on your worksheet. We have seen this from the other side. A beekeeper came to us and said, hey, do you mind if I put some beehives up in the field? I love honey, and I love the work
We
bees
love
do.
pollinators,
I'm all about the pollinators.
but super afraid of
I
bees.
am like unreal, like just kidding. I couldn't even get close to the hives. Like just skeeves me out, the buzzing noise and the bees. So I knew we'd get good pollination. He offered us some free honey. He'd give us a jar of honey when we needed it. Free pollination. Our fields would be better off. That was like a no-brainer. Like, yeah, go for it. Right there. Yep, no problem. I even already had the electric fence he could tie into. I saw the benefit right away, and it made it very easy to say yes. Now, we understand the whole agriculture thing, but with a little bit of help, you're not asking for a handout. You're not
Right.
asking for... You don't have... In this world, there is so many more forms of capital than just greenbacks, right? There's more to life than just the Benjis. It's not all about the Benjis. So people understand that they some good product.
A good service.
We just got a really nice gift. Jack from the Mindful Homestead and Jackie sent us some of their soap, right? They're making soap from pig fat, taking what is essentially a waste product. Everyone says no to the lard, right? When you sell pigs, and they're turning it into this product. And every night I use that soap, and it smells so good, and
Do you
it
think
feels
of Jack?
good. I think of Jack when I'm pampering
You
myself.
think of Jack's beard.
That big luscious beard I could only dream to achieve. Yeah, it's like such a nice thing. Imagine if that's your product, right? Hey, I'm gonna give, and then every time that person reaches in their freezer and pulls out a pork chop, or grabs a bar of your soap, or whatever your product is, they're gonna feel good.
They're gonna feel. We always say it's like a Downton Abbey, right? He's the
yeah.
man, the head of the
Lord Grantham.
estate, and you are managing his pigs, and he can look out and say, "Look what I'm producing with my property, and the pork I can eat." They can brag about it to their friends.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
helping them do that. At the same time, you're able to save money for buying your own property and learn some amazing skills. So what you're doing has value. Not everyone's gonna say yes.
No.
Somebody will.
Yeah. 1 in 10. Our poll showed 1 in 10 people in our audience have found access to free land. You can be one of those 1 in 10 people.
And
so
don't forget, all 400 of those people didn't say, I asked and people said no. And 40 of them said, yes, I asked and people said yes. We don't know what percentage of the people have never asked to find land to use. So
yeah, so it could be
So the numbers could be a lot higher.
We have found multiple opportunities to have access to land without cash, not through YouTube, not through special connections, just through good old-fashioned
Google. Good old-fashioned Google.
And then not being afraid to knock on a door, write a letter, go and ask. Just do it, because that'll get the ball rolling. You might wind up like John Covich. You might wind up like us. You might wind up better. You might wind up smaller, whatever it is, but you'll get the ball rolling and you'll be homesteading, which is,
before you know it.
Yeah, the whole goal.
So even though there are things that can go wrong with one of these situations, it's still, as long as you cross your T's, dot your I's, do your due diligence, these can be a wonderful way. Start your homestead, maybe start expanding your homestead with putting very little money into these really expensive farms that are out there.
And over a period of 5 years of not having to pay for that land in money, in dollars, you might actually be able to save some money where now you can. And we have a whole podcast just like this on how to find cheap land to actually purchase and have your own. In that we go through 3 different ways of locating properties that are less valuable to the market, but as someone who's looking for cheap land that they can do something with, more valuable to you. So click here to watch that episode of the podcast and find yourself some cheap land to buy once you've saved all that money on that free land.